Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. How are you guys doing? I am having a hard time just kind of keeping basic shit together, but enough about that. Like many of you, my recollection of events and goings-on for the past week is a bit hazier than usual, which is all the more reason to make use of today's installment so we might remember that which was forgotten. Like, remember when the RTX 4070 launched last week and nobody cared? Well, there's probably a 4060 Ti coming soon too that we can also not care about, but perhaps most importantly this week, we finally have a way to make use of all those spare RTX 4090 Founders Edition coolers that everyone has just lying around. What a great week it is for tech news. It's almost enough to just make you want to say fuck everything and seek temporary solace with some type of mind-altering substance. And yeah, I guess I'll be going with beer today. Cheers.
Excellent!
Thermaltake's original SwaFan series revolutionized case fans by adding swappable fan blades, and now they're even better with the SwaFan EX, featuring magnetic connectors that daisy chain fans together to simplify installation and cable management. They're still available in black or snow trim with 12 or 14 centimeter sizes, they still feature high static pressure for use with radiators, and they still come with an extra set of reversed fan blades, easy to swap in so you can show off your fan's good side no matter where it's installed in your case. For more on the SwaFan EX from Thermaltake, click the sponsor link in the video description. That is actually remarkably good. Shout out to Bosco's Restaurant and Brewery Company. And on with the news. Wouldn't it be nice if Nvidia suddenly couldn't sell their video cards and were forced by natural market pressure to lower their prices, allowing countless gamers who can't afford $600 plus GPUs to play games without having to sell blood or go without basic necessities? Well, don't get your hopes up, but it appears that after 10 days or so on store shelves, the RTX 4070 is not selling out or selling in significant volume, likely thanks to a lukewarm reception from reviewers and a blatantly middling price to performance uplift versus historical GPU launches. But when I say don't get your hopes up, I mean it, because Nvidia wouldn't let something as banal as lack of sales impact their market positioning. They would instead prefer to reduce production, at least according to rumors sourced from Chinese board channel forums. And while these rumors are difficult to verify, some other recent reports seem to back them up. Tech Epiphany's reported GPU sales in Germany for the past week show a 60-40 split between AMD and Nvidia, perhaps indicating that some buyers are actually opting for the better priced Radeon cards that are available, particularly with price cuts to higher end 6000 series cards like the 6950 XT and 6800 XT. Meanwhile, the RTX 4070 is still readily available in the US at its $600 MSRP, making it even more challenging for add-in board partners to clear out their 30 series inventory while they can still get a good price for it. Hence, moves like MSI's recently launched RTX 3060 Ti Super 3X graphics card, which is exclusive to Taiwan and China, but pairs the 3-year-old Ampere GA104 GPU with high-end cooling and an aggressive overclock in an attempt to boost the value proposition. For many gamers, though, the only way to increase said value proposition for these cards will be to lower their price, and we have vaguely positive news to report on that front. Actually, scratch that. This is still garbage news dressed up to give you the slightest inkling of hope. Guys, look guys, Nvidia 40 series GPUs are selling for below MSRP. All you have to do is go to Poland if you want an RTX 4070, where the low price of 2,913, I'm gonna say Polish lamprey nutsacks, which I believe is their form of currency, represents almost a 9% discount versus the 3,199 lamprey nutsacks that they were charging at MSRP. That's about a $50 discount if it was applied to the $600 price here in the States, or about the same discount you can get on an RTX 4090 right now at Newegg. Again, below MSRP, multiple exclamation points. It's just, refurbished. Aren't those usually discounted anyway? How appealing. In fact, the only Nvidia GPU in this pitiful roundup that actually is selling below MSRP for a new unit that's available from a US retailer is the RTX 4080, which always started out with an MSRP that everyone was so fond of, but that's via this Gigabyte Eagle model that's at $1,150, another smashing $50 discount that represents a 5.2% markdown if we're rounding up. So by all means, take this as an indication that the dam is about to break and the GPU prices are about to fall off that cliff that they've been climbing for the past 10 years, like the first few pebbles in a landslide or some similarly appropriate analogy. I, for one, do not believe it, but I'll give you a moment to present a counter-argument while I sip on my beer. Okay, the counter-argument is here in a late-breaking Friday story. Micro Center is giving away $100 Steam gift cards with RTX 40 series GPUs. That's not bad, as long as you can get yourself to a Micro Center. Also, you don't necessarily need to go to Poland to get a cash discount on a 4070. You could also do that in Germany or China. Good, that's good. What will truly save us from this GPU quagmire undoubtedly will be yet another video card launch, and right on time. Almost as if it were intentional in its timing, we have an RTX 4060 Ti leak. Fear not, those of you who decided $600 is too much for a 4070, the 4060 Ti will probably be super cheap and totally upend the mid to low tier market. And this info was leaked by Colorful, as reported by Tech PowerUp. They've actually already even got an entry in their database for this card, which sports a modest overclock from 2535 MHz to 2580. But surely the 8GB VRAM setup won't hold the 4060 Ti back, as has been shown for many new titles that surpass that allocation even at 1440p, especially if ray tracing is enabled. Surely the 128-bit bus will be sufficient for our needs, and most undoubtedly Nvidia will relent in their aggressive pricing for the 40 series cards, and we'll be pleasantly surprised with the price to performance ratio, so the 4060 Ti can take its place as the go-to recommendation for budget builds. What a bright future we all have to look forward to. I'm gonna have another drink. Speaking of delusional optimism, here's a story that will benefit a huge percentage of Earth's population. We can all finally make use of all those extra RTX 4090 Founders Edition coolers that we just have lying around. You see, the RTX 4090 Founders Edition fan, which again, we all have so many spares of because of all the 4090s that we bought, was actually quite good. What a surprise. The $1,600 MSRP was enough for Nvidia to not skimp on the BOM cost for their cooler. Well done, Nvidia, but since it's a good fan, why not cool other stuff with it too? Well, Chip Hell forum members, who also have way too many RTX 4090s on hand, decided to do just that, and discovered that the axial fan from the $1,600 4090 Founders Edition, surprise, surprise, performed better than the 120mm Thermalright TLC12, which costs $15 for a 3-pack. They even went ahead and made a 3D printed 120mm frame so you can mount one of them to a standard radiator or fan mount. And here, I was being all cynical about this week's news, as if it was all just a big waste of time. Speaking of a waste of time, Tech Briefs are next, where we maximize time-wasting efficiency. Also speaking of a waste of time, Intel has decided that their effort to produce Bitcoin mining Blockscale ASICs was a bad move, and they've end-of-lifed their Blockscale 1000 series after just 1 year, with no apparent plans to produce new generations in the future. Customers can still place orders until October, but shipments will cease in April 2024. Intel says the project definitely wasn't a cash grab clusterfuck based on a glorified pyramid scheme, that it absolutely didn't pull valuable time and resources away from their other endeavors, and that they're really looking forward to making processors that actually do useful things again. MSI is also happy to get back to one of the things that they've done well in the past, publishing their Afterburner GPU utility, which saw its first stable release since 2019 posted Wednesday, providing a welcome distraction from the stories about MSI being hacked in recent weeks. Thanks to the efforts of developer Alexei Unwinder Nikolichuk, I'm just going to call him Nikki. Afterburner 4.6.5 now officially supports RTX 40 series and Radeon 7000 series GPUs, as well as Intel Arc cards, and preliminary support for Intel 13th Gen Core and AMD Ryzen 7000 series processors. It is assumed that Alexei has been now paid for his work, therefore, but one more reminder that MSI was hacked recently, so it's recommended that you only download Afterburner directly from the MSI or Guru 3D websites. Seagate will have to pay a $300 million penalty for violating US export control laws, the Department of Commerce said on Wednesday. More than $1.1 billion worth of hard disk drives were sold to China's Huawei Corporation between August 2020 and September 2021, even though Huawei was placed on a 2019 blacklist amidst national security and foreign policy concerns. There were about 7.4 million drives sold, which makes it about $40 per drive in penalties, which likely hurts Seagate's profit margins on those sales just a smidge. Hard drive sales in general are down industry-wide though, by 35% year over year in Q1, so maybe Seagate made the right move, unloading all those drives while they still could. Lastly, we turn our eyes skyward, where there was a big explosion on Thursday. That would have been the SpaceX Starship, spectacularly experiencing what SpaceX called rapid, unscheduled disassembly after its inaugural launch in Boca Chica, Texas. It's important to note that spaceflight tests are often doomed to fail, and this one in particular was more about the Stage 0 launch tower and elements closer to the ground than the rocket's performance up in the air. Scott Manley, who has an excellent 10-minute summary of the launch that's linked in the description, was quite surprised that it even made liftoff. SpaceX can now get to work sorting out non-explosion related problems, such as multiple booster engines not firing or failing, or the launch pad literally being melted and stripped away by the force of the launch, sending concrete and debris flying, which took out a minivan and damaged nearby storage tanks and likely the Starship itself. Still, the launch is being hailed as a success by those who know what they're talking about, which bodes well for NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which aims to use the Starship to put astronauts back on the moon by 2025. Here's to space travel and hope for the future. That's some delicious hope right there. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high-quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.